Buddy, PT Pop here with all four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back, and tonight I'm going to talk about call center intranets. Stay tuned. Hey there, everybody. PT Pop here, and one of my wonderful subscribers gave me a great suggestion on talking about corporations and the intranets that they direct you to when you're on the phone with a customer. There's the intranet, and there's the internet. Now, the internet is a worldwide system of networks and servers that connect the entire world through a huge database of servers and just gargantuan amount of information. It's all around the world. It's a huge amount of servers and networks that are all connected. The intranet is a private, proprietary computer network designed by and contained within a specific corporation. It's used to share information, internal services, and systems between employees within that corporation or that company. It's independent and completely separate from the internet and does not connect to the internet. It is not public. It is a private network completely separate from the internet. It can be used internally to train employees for collaboration, account management, etc. Company information in this platform and in the way it's set up, in intranet, company information is decentralized. That means it's made available to all employees while they are signed into the intranet. Now here's an example of an intranet. This is Huntworth Health Intranet. This is posted on Google. And as you can see at the top menu bar, there's employee resources, corporate communications, there's the headline newsletter. There's always the current weather in the bottom right-hand corner. It always says London, England on every company I've worked for. There's always the local weather and then like European weather. There's also stock tickers like with the NASDAQ and things like that. It's basically an internal website to distribute company information and propaganda to make it look like everything's peachy keen and fun. They're always, brightly colored, clean. There's always stories about somebody who just got promoted or the CEO who just got back from a golf outing in the Carolinas and now he's back to greet everybody at the Christmas party. It also contains a support page to support all the products that the customer sells to the general public. A troubleshooting guide to help customers with questions and concerns about the company's products. Now, when I first got into the cell phone industry, it was 1994, and the only phone on the market was the Motorola flip phone, also known as a brick phone, because it was as big as a brick, and you folded out the microphone like you see in this picture, and you had to pull out an antenna. It was an analog phone. It wasn't digital. It's very big. You couldn't put it in your pocket. If you did, it would look like, you're very happy to see people all the time. Now, that was 1994 when I first got into the cell phone industry. I hadn't been in the cell phone industry since 1998. Fast forward to like 2009, I get hired by Verizon Wireless. And look at the evolution of the cell phone industry since the Motorola brick phones. It's evolved immensely. It's gone from all these different styles of phones to what we have now are basically everything's a smartphone, basically. So I walked into Verizon Wireless. Now there were hundreds of different phones, and I was totally lost on a lot of these phones. I'd never seen them, never held them. The last phone I had owned prior to working at Verizon Wireless was a Nokia 3210. So when I worked at Verizon, they had people calling in with hundreds of different types of phones. Every call was different. And if you didn't know how to use that phone, and the customer service supervisor didn't know how to use that phone or how to troubleshoot it, they would direct you to the intranet, to the troubleshooting guide. In trying to troubleshoot a cell phone over the telephone with another individual, and especially if it's a phone you've never held in your hands, you don't know how to access the menu buttons, you don't know how to get into deep menu features of the phone, it's really hard. It's like trying to lace your boots with boxing gloves on. Now, this isn't Verizon's intranet, but this is very similar to what I had to work with when it came to troubleshooting cell phones. This is the public page that's broadcast and published on their public website at www.verizonwireless.com. for the general public to troubleshoot their individual phones. These are all the brands, devices that Verizon Wireless supports. They support
Apple, Samsung, Motorola, LG, Netgear, ZTE, Garmin, Verizon.
select all. There's 31 brands that they
support: Delphi, Alcatel, Alcoholical, Microsoft, Palm, Nokia, BlackBerry, Red, HTC, HP, Kyocera, Yealink, Pantech, Asus, Orbic, Sonin, Lexus, Lincoln, Casio, Ford, Google, Sony, Frontier, Toyota.
Okay, and then within each of these, like we'll use Apple. Apple has they have 41 different types of devices within Apple. 41 devices. And I maintain it's impossible to give good customer support when there's hundreds of different models of phones from different manufacturers. Nobody could know how to troubleshoot all these phones. Let's go to Google. It looks like I believe Google about 13, 14 years ago purchased Android phones. So let's go to Google, see what they've got there. Looks like they only have 7 devices. So let's go up to Samsung. Samsung has 92 devices. 92 devices that you're going to have to know how to get into the different menus. So my point is, these intranets that the companies like Verizon use are extremely difficult to maneuver and to go through. So let's pick one. Let's try an LG. Go to LG. Let's say you have an LG. They have 54 different devices within LG. Let's say you've never used the Gizmo Pal, and somebody calls in about the Gizmo Pal. So you get these calls all the time, especially in the cellular industry. Somebody will call in about a device you've never heard of and you're not familiar with. Now, the Gizmo Pal, in case you're not aware of it, I'd never heard of it till I made this video. It's like a watch phone that a child will wear in its wrist with one button push calling. So they can press a button if they got to call home for an emergency or something like that. But if you've never heard of this, you're going to have to try to figure this out while being on the phone with a customer, while they're yelling at you because they can't get their call. Kid can't place any calls. So you go to the troubleshooting page, and you've never heard of the Gizmo Pal. I get these calls all the time. Can you tell me a little bit more about your device? So what exactly is the Gizmo Pal? And so while they're talking to you, they're going to say, well, you're an effing asshole if you don't know what the Gizmo Pal is. Let's see here. I can't make calls, so I guess it's some type of telephone. I don't know what it is. So you click on this thing, and let's say that you're going to have different operating systems on the Gizmo Pal. You can have Android, and let's say this customer says they have Android. Click on it. Checking for coverage with Verizon is a good starting point for almost all troubleshooting. So the point I'm trying to make with this video is, just imagine you're on a call with a customer. They've got this Gizmo device, and the Gizmo device is not working. And their precious little child is in tears because they got bullied on the playground, and they had their Gizmo device on their wrist, and they tried to press the button to call home, to call mommy, because Joe Schmo spit on them or something. Okay, God forbid this really happens in real life. But let's say the kid's crying, he's upset. He gets home and says, Mom, I tried to call you. Joe Schmo spit on me in the playground. I needed someone to talk to. And the principal had us both in the office, yada, yada, yada. So the parents on the phone with you, they're screaming at you because their Gizmo device doesn't work. They can't make a call. Their kid's been bullied. It's your fault now because they couldn't get a hold of you. It's your fault now on the phone. And while they're screaming at you, you've got to somehow navigate this intranet and try to find out. You're searching Google trying to figure out what this Gizmo device is. What is this Gizmo device that they're talking about? Because you have no idea what they're talking about. And the parent's upset. So you've got to somehow navigate this intranet to find the device, figure out how to troubleshoot it through the troubleshooting guide that the company is designed to help you, quote, help you, unquote, in times like this. And it's virtually impossible if you don't know the devices, don't know how to work with the devices. And it's really frustrating. It's very upsetting. There's no way for these mega companies like Verizon to train everybody on every single new device that comes out. I remember when Android came out, they took us off the phones and they pulled us into a training class for like 2 hours. We got 2 hours to learn the new Android operating systems. I think they were called like Cupcake and Cookie Schmookie and something like that. And they had a model phone. They had 2 phones. They'd pass one over to the right side of the room, one to the left side of the room, and you got to hold the phone and play with it and get a feel for it for about 2 hours. And then you were back on the phones to talk about the Android phone. They were releasing the Android to the general public nationwide within 48 hours, and it was your responsibility to gain as much information in a 2-hour training class about this new device that nobody had ever heard of before. Fumbling through this intranet with a troubleshooting guy trying to figure out how to fix their gizmo, and it's not working because you don't know what they're talking about. You can't find it. You've never seen it. You've never held it. And while they're yelling at you, you're trying to search Google to find out what it is. Maybe there's better troubleshooting guides on YouTube, things like that. So the internet is usually set up to try to give quick, simple, easy, concise answers, in troubleshooting cases for some technology companies, to give customers answers to things that they want answers to. But it doesn't always give you the answers, because a lot of the answers come from experience of handling those devices, handling those type of calls. And it's just a very weird thing. Like if you ever have a really incompetent supervisor, you'll say, and you've tried the internet and you've tried all the troubleshooting techniques that you've been trained, you pull your supervisor over and say, hey, Joe Flabeats, can you help me with this? And you tell them what's going on. They'll say, well, just check the internet. And then you're like, well, I was just there. And they're like, well, send him to a store. They'll say to send him to one of the stores. And if Verizon Wireless is supporting 31 individual brands of cell phone manufacturers, and let's say hypothetically that each of them has 30 different models, that's over 900 different models you have to somehow be familiar with to be able to troubleshoot it over the phone. And it's really hard. It's almost impossible to do it well. And there were very few people I knew who could actually troubleshoot these phones clearly, quickly, and concisely within the given amount of talk time that they wanted you to have. It's very hard. It was impossible for me. And you sit there and you're fumbling through all these digital pages in the internet, and the customer's screaming at you. They got babies crying. They're threatening to blow up the call center, things like that. And it's crazy. It's just madness. It's complete madness, which is why call centers are going by the wayside. They're antiquated. They're no longer feasible. There's too many products in the world. So that's my video about the internet. I hope that helped you get another glimpse inside of a call center, how hard it is to actually maneuver and navigate the job, especially in the technology world. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, the snooter. Subscribe, tell your call center friends and call center survivor friends about the channel. And you have a great Easter. Today is Easter Sunday. Well, actually, it's not. It's now Monday. It's 12:30 in the morning as I create this. But you have a great day. Have a good week. And I will talk to you soon.